The following contest is in the RFO middleweight division, and it is brought to you by Dreamers Nightclub, official after party of RFO Big Guns 21. Introducing first, making his way down the aisle into the blue corner, please welcome Mason Fronius.
Mason Fronius 1-0, making his way to the cage here. And the thing I wanted to say, and again, I hope that I'm allowed to say this, because Matt Truckovich just came up and said in my ear, but he told me that Brian Rogers will be on RFO Big Guns 22 January 28th in Mansfield, Ohio. And I don't know if they're going to be able to find enough seats in that place to be able to, for the amount of people that want to see Brian, are going to want to see Brian Rogers back in action, back in the Ohio MMA scene.
B-Raj, training currently in Colorado, originally from Northeast Ohio, was a trainer at the University of Akron, strength and conditioning, and B-Raj is a legend. That place will be absolutely mobbed, and probably with all strong style fans.
Pretty much, and that'll be January 28th, but again, don't want to focus too much on that because we do have Mason Fronius here making his way to the cage. Got a win back in his debut earlier this year, a victory guillotine choke over Sean Rich. 1-0, 20 years old, coming out of PA. One of those guys who, coming over from Ohio, PA, and actually, a lot of times guys from PA that are 1-0, 2-0 or earlier in their careers, PA has rules where the fighters, amateurs, they have a kind of a novice division in their amateurs where fighters will have to wear shin guards and there's no ground and pound to the head. So a lot of these guys are taking, first couple of fights in Ohio to get that experience under their belt. But again, they have to go into a lot of times their opponent's backyard to get fights.
And that's fine. Like I said earlier in the broadcast, my coach Jason Dent, a veteran of the Ultimate Fighter, he's always said, amateurs is about experience, not record, and that's the important thing.
Jake Digman's going to bring out his opponent.
And his opponent making his way down the aisle into the red corner, please welcome Tim Fred.
And David, here comes Tim Fred. One of the interesting things that we notice, both of these guys, they are both 1-0. They are fighting at the welterweight division, and they both have a victory by submission. So very, very early stats, but it appears that this fight might go to the ground.
Tim Fred, again, 1-0, 23 years old. We saw him back at Big Guns 20 just 6 weeks ago. Now looking to go 2-0 here. As you mentioned, both guys seem to like it on the ground.
Yeah, both guys have a submission victory, second round. Submission, one by guillotine choke, one by rear naked choke. So, you're wondering, and I'm looking at Mason Fronius right now as we look at the tail of the tape. Both guys very evenly matched. Height same, age very similar, record similar. But you look and you say, man, that guy's a welterweight? He's got the body type. You wonder, could he make lightweight? Could he be 155 pounds? I mean, Mason just looks small.
Yeah, and you see, Tim Fred coming in. He definitely looks like a guy who is a pure welterweight, just kind of put together, pretty built guy as he comes in representing RSMMA. One of the, kind of more younger gyms on the scene in Ohio, but they definitely are starting to make a name for themselves here in the state.
Yeah, and I mean, these guys, you wonder, who am I to say? Mason might just be thick and solid, but just visually, he does not look like a welterweight. He just looks small, but who knows? And hey, if you're a grappler by trade, you don't care about weight.
Exactly, size usually does not matter.
Absolutely
guys who
not.
just want to grapple in fights. Ask Gunnar Nelson about that guy who taps out heavyweights as a welterweight.
There's David Graff, coach, fantastic human being, and he's got his protege in the ring. should say in the cage, and here we go.
The following contest is in the RFO middleweight division, and it is brought to you by Dreamers Nightclub, official after party of Big Guns 21. Introducing first in the blue corner, he fights out of Connellsville, Pennsylvania. He weighed in at 181 1/2 pounds, representing Schwartz Taekwondo with an MMA record, 1 win, 0 losses. Please welcome Mason Fronius. His opponent in the red corner, he fights out of Streetsboro, Ohio. He weighed in at 172 pounds, representing Aries Combat with an MMA record, 1 win, 0 losses. Please welcome Tim Fred. This bout is scheduled for 3 3-minute rounds, and when the action begins, your referee is Mr. Victor Ventresca.
Welterweight bout here, RFO Big Guns 21, Mason Fronius in the camo, Tim Fred in the black, trimmed in red. Victor Ventresca is the referee here for this one. Get a glove touch here early on.
And we're going to see...
nice leg kick there from Fred. Another leg kick.
Oh, Mason looks, he's in trouble and desperate already. But nice takedown.
Looked like Tim Fred was trying to get the toss there, but it was Mason Fronius who ended up on top. And we heard he actually trains at represents a Taekwondo gym, Schwartz Taekwondo in Connellsville, Pennsylvania. So I was going to say we might be expecting a little bit of unorthodox striking, but he ends on top here in the guard of Tim Fred. Fred looking to try to isolate that right arm, maybe potentially throw up a triangle here.
And coming out of a Taekwondo place, you would expect a lot of leg kicks, but he got his first victory by submission. So clearly he's training on the ground. It's going to be interesting to see, though, if he's able to, sometimes those sports, sport martial arts translate into the cage. Nick Duell is a guy locally that made that transition perfectly. He was able to translate sport.
Ryan Madigan as well.
Yeah, Ryan the Lion Madigan, great example. Those guys were able to transition, and we're going to see if Mason's able to do that here. Right now, he looks good. He's got good posture, and he's in.
You see Fred, though, staying active off of his back, was looking to try to throw up that high guard. Fronius now trying to pass here, but still ends up in the guard here of Tim Fred. Tim Fred, good jiu-jitsu off of his back, but a lot of times in MMA, this is, whether you're on your back, whether you're aggressive or not, you're losing the fight.
Yep.
Looks like he might be trying to lock in a triangle here, though.
He's looking for a triangle, and he's doing the smart thing.
Trying to slam his way out of it.
He's got to get that left leg over the neck. Because right now, he just does not have it tight enough.
Also needs to control that head of Mason Fronius.
And Mason's just trying to pull out right now. What he really needs to do is not stack him, but just crush him. Just put all the pressure on Tim's neck and be able to pass from there.
Mason looks to be in pretty decent position here, though, even though Fred has that triangle. Doesn't have it completely locked in here, though. Mason Fronius, 20 seconds left to go here, is still on top. And again, this is a tough round to score because even though Fronius is on top, it's been Fred that's been the aggressor, the guy who's looking for the submissions off of his back and even also throwing the punches here.
And this is where I hate this, but I got to get on my horse. I got to get on my high horse. I really think the judges, they're qualified individuals. They're wonderful human beings. I'm sure they kiss their kids goodnight, but they need to understand jiu-jitsu. They need to be in the gym and understand that you can be on your back and in control. And that's one of the things that I've always struggled with. Just because the guy's on top doesn't mean he's in control. And you as a jiu-jitsu practitioner, you understand this as well as anybody as we look at some highlights from the first round.
It was Fred that was looking for the throw there, and Fronius, even though Fred had that whizzer there, was still able to finish that throw and end up on top. And you think that, you know, it's tough to call, but that might have been what won him that round. That and then being able to stay on top for the remainder of, you know, the 2.5 minutes where he was on top, even though it was Fred who was the aggressor.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, you know, my main background is jiu-jitsu, and I understand being on bottom sometimes is where I want to be because I'm the one in control. Even though somebody's on top and they may look like they're in control, they're not.
Especially if you're in a guy's guard. I think that's, you know, a really sometimes a more advantageous position for the guy on the bottom because you have more options there, more potentials for sweeps, more submissions. Really, if you're in a guy's guard on top, there's not much you can do in terms of just pure jiu-jitsu.
Unless you're Stipe Miocic and you just absolutely destroy your opponent.
Another leg kick there from Tim Fred, and I think maybe his corner told him, hey, you need to end up on top here, but Fronius
going for a guillotine.
Looks like he might have this completely locked in tight, and we talked earlier on, instead of cranking straight back, he needs to almost kind of crunch his body here to try to get this finish.
And it's an arm in guillotine, which is finishable, but it is often very difficult.
It looks like Fred may be actually standing up here. You see the absolute power of a guy, and it's going to be even harder for Fronius to finish it from this position as he gets slammed here.
And Fronius needs to have absolutely perfect technique to finish an arm in guillotine because an arm in guillotine is so difficult.
Fred's head now pops out. And again, as you know, one of the things I mentioned is his corner probably told him, even though you were the aggressor in that first round, you got to end up on top here. You can't be on your back for 2.5 minutes of a round and expect to win a round in MMA. As Fred now posturing up and throwing some big shots here. Minute 45 to go here in the second round. Another evenly matched fight here at RFO Big Guns 21.
A credit to Matt Trukovich and his staff for just making these fights so competitive.
One of the things here, you see Fred doing a lot of damage even from the guard of Mason Fronius. A lot of times it's hard to get a lot of power on those shots.
And here's where I'm going to contradict myself. I said, hey, a lot of times when you're in guard, you're in control. In this particular case, Tim Fred is absolutely dominating.
And Fred also was throwing a lot of big shots, though, even from the guard, as we see he's now passed here. Was in half guard, now is in side control. Interesting position here, though. Doesn't have those hips down on the mat. Was actually on his knees. Was surprised Fronius didn't try to scramble out of there. Now Fred here with...
I was going to say, Fronius appears to be bleeding from the nose.
Fred trying to isolate that right arm here. Maybe get a crucifix position.
He's trying for a head and arm triangle.
And Mason Fronius may actually be able to take the back here of Tim Fred.
He should be able to.
It looks like he's trying to sneak out the back door.
And he should be able to. But instead he gives up his back.
And it's Fred now who takes the back of Mason Fronius. Fred has good positioning. It looks like he needs to work on some
full mounts. And Victor Ventresca is going to call this fight.
And that was toward the end of the second round. Good job there by Tim Fred to get the TKO win with just a few seconds left in that second round. And I was going to say, Tim Fred had great positioning in that fight. One of the things he may need to work on, especially being a young guy, is being able to finish when he gets in those dominant positions.
Well, Victor Ventresca's called a stop to this fight. Mason Fronius unfortunately comes up on the short end of the stick, but
we take a look at the replay here. I believe this is going to be the finish. You see Tim Fred posturing up and Fronius not protecting himself. And if you're not protecting yourself, especially in amateur ranks, the referee is going to call off the fight. Good stoppage there from Victor Ventresca.
Yeah, and for those that may not be fully aware, one of the things that defines mixed martial arts is, are you intelligently defending yourself? If you put your arms over your head and are not taking strikes, that's not intelligently defending yourself. And I think what happened with Mason Fronius was he just wasn't intelligently defending himself, and Victor Ventresca said, that's enough.
Exactly, and good win by Tim Fred there. We're going to send it up to Jake Digman for the official result.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Victor Ventresca calls a stop to the action at 2 minutes and 55 seconds of the second round, declaring your winner by TKO, Tim Fred!
That's another great fight, ladies and gentlemen. Good fight, man. You got another RFO win, man. You got a TKO stoppage. There's probably 3 seconds left in that round. Was that part of your plan to just get after it because you knew the round was about to end?
Yeah, I felt slow and tired in there, so I definitely wanted to end it at the end of that second round. And luckily, I got it in right before the deadline, so felt good.
He was real tricky, man. When you came after him, I thought, man, he's outclassed. He even looked like he didn't want to be in there, but as soon as the ground went to the mat, he started fighting and came alive. He was real tricky. Did that surprise you?
Yeah, I mean, I thought he looked pretty out of shape wherever he is. I didn't think he was ready either, and I'm tired as hell, so he's strong, man. He's stronger than he looks.
It was a great fight. Again, let's hear it for your winner, Tim Fred.